When they tell you not to panic, that's when you run!
The lights of New Shanghai glittered against the night sky, a testament to human ingenuity and resilience. From his observatory perched high in the Kunlun Mountains, Dr. Liam Shen watched the metropolis through specialised binoculars, marvelling at how humanity had rebuilt after the last great cataclysm. Few knew that this wasn't mankind's first grand civilization, or that it wouldn't be the last.
They won't believe you, Liam. They never do.
Dr. Chen turned to face his research partner, Dr. Amara Okafor. Her face was illuminated by the blue glow of multiple monitors displaying alarming data, magnetic anomalies, strange animal migrations, and unprecedented seismic readings from around the globe. They have to, he replied, sliding a weathered leather-bound journal across the desk. The calculations are irrefutable, just like they were before the last collapse. The journal contained generations of observations passed down through a secret lineage of scientists and scholars, dating back to an ancient civilization that predated even Sumer. Its pages documented a terrifying cycle. Approximately every 7,000 years, Earth experienced a catastrophic shifting of its crust over the mantle, causing the poles to relocate with devastating consequences.
We have 3 weeks,
Amara whispered, pointing to a simulation showing Earth's rapidly weakening magnetic field.
maybe less.
Unknown to the scientists, their conversation was being monitored by someone or something else. Deep beneath the Antarctic ice, in a vast chamber untouched by human hands for millennia, a sleeping installation hummed into life. Inside, beings who had observed Earth for over 400,000 years stirred from their hibernation pods. The Guardians, as they called themselves, were the last remnants of those the Sumerians had once worshipped as the Annunaki. Enki, the leader, reviewed the data streaming across crystalline displays. "It begins again," he said to his council. "The humans have built themselves up from the rubble of Atlantis, just as they rebuilt from Eden before that. And now, once more, they stand on the precipice. This time they have technology," said his sister, Inanna. "Perhaps they can survive." "They've had technology before," Enki replied grimly. "The evidence lies scattered across the ocean floors and buried beneath miles of ice. Their greatest achievements swallowed by supersonic winds and mile-high tsunamis in a matter of hours." He gestured to a wall of ancient tablets, the original records that had inspired the fragments of truth in Chan Thomas's controversial book, The Adam and Eve Story. The Anunnaki had been more than gods or aliens. They were survivors, guardians, and sometimes saviours. In Göbekli Tepe, Turkey, archaeologist Sofia Mendes made a discovery that would change humanity's understanding of its past, if only she could share it in time.
Look at these carvings.
She told her colleague, brushing dust from a newly unearthed pillar.
They're not just astronomical, they're warnings.
The 12,000-year-old stone depicted a scene of devastation, cities crumbling, oceans swallowing land, and the sky ablaze. But in the corner was something even more remarkable, a detailed diagram of Earth's magnetic field collapsing, alongside mathematical equations that predicted when it would happen again. "This matches the anomalies we've been tracking," her colleague said, comparing the ancient carvings to data on his tablet. "How could they know?"
Because they'd seen it before,
Sophia replied.
and someone taught them how to predict the next one.
As she spoke, her satellite phone rang. It was Dr. Chen, calling from halfway across the world, with the same revelation. Over the next days, the signs became impossible to ignore. Compasses worldwide began to spin erratically. Aurora displays appeared at the equator. Animals fled inland from coastal regions en masse. The Earth's magnetic field, humanity's shield against solar radiation, was collapsing at an exponential rate. World leaders gathered in emergency sessions as scientists confirmed what the ancient records had predicted. The Earth's crust was preparing to slip over the mantle. When it did, supersonic winds would scour the continents, while tsunamis higher than skyscrapers would sweep inland for hundreds of miles. This has happened before, Dr. Chen testified before the United Nations. What we consider ancient myths, the destruction of Eden, Noah's flood, the fall of Atlantis, these weren't metaphors. They were memories of previous cataclysms. Meanwhile, deep beneath Antarctica, Enki faced a decision his kind had confronted multiple times throughout Earth's history. We intervened before, Iana reminded him. We saved the select few, those with the genetic potential to rebuild civilization. Yes, Enki nodded. And they created stories about us, called us gods, built religions around fragmented memories of our aid. The question remains, do we intervene again? Dr. Shen and Dr. Okafor received a mysterious invitation to a remote location in the Himalayas. There, in a chamber, hidden within the mountains, they found Sofia Mendez and representatives from other nations, all scientists who had independently discovered evidence of the coming cataclysm. Their host was a tall, striking figure who introduced himself simply as Enki. You're here because you've discovered what few humans have, the true cycle of your world, he said, activating a holographic display that showed Earth's history spanning back millions of years. We have watched your species rise and fall countless times. The scientists stared in awe as the display showed advanced civilizations predating known history, some even more technologically sophisticated than the present day.
Who are you?
Fia asked. In your myths, we have had many names. The Annunaki to Sumerians, the Watchers in biblical texts, gods to some, aliens to others. The truth is both simple and more complex. We are the caretakers, the ones who ensure that knowledge survives each reset. Why not just stop it, Dr. Chen demanded, if you have such advanced technology? Enki shook his head. The forces involved are beyond even our ability to control. Earth cycles are built into its very structure. What we can do is preserve knowledge, genetic diversity, the seeds of civilization. He revealed their purpose to offer passage on vast arcs, ships that would ride out the coming catastrophe in the relative safety of specific regions where the devastation would be minimised. We've done this before, Enki explained. Noah, Utnapishtim, Deucalion, different names and different cycles for those who carried the flames of knowledge forward. As the day of the shift grew near, humanity faced a terrible choice: who would be saved and who would be left behind. The Guardians could only transport a fraction of the Earth's population to safety. They selected individuals based on genetic diversity, knowledge base, and skills essential for rebuilding. This isn't fair, Dr. Ottokar protested. Billions will die. Billions have died before, Enki replied, and humanity has always returned stronger and more resilient. This is not extinction, it is metamorphosis. Dr. Shen discovered that the Guardians themselves were not aliens at all, but the descendants of humans from a previous cycle, one that had reached technological heights far beyond the present day. They had engineered themselves to survive the cataclysms, extending their lifespans and enhancing their capabilities. You're us, he realised, from a previous iteration of human civilization. Yes, Enki acknowledged. Just as you will become the Guardians for the next cycle, should you choose to accept that responsibility. When it came, the cataclysm was just as the ancient texts had described. The Earth's crust, riding on a thin layer of molten material, began to slide. Within hours, the geographic poles shifted by nearly 90 degrees. From the arcs, the survivors watched in horror as supersonic winds stripped continents bare and tsunamis swallowed coastlines. Cities that had stood for centuries, some millennia, were reduced to rubble in minutes. The world they had known ceased to exist almost instantly. Yet, Some remnants remained, structures built to withstand the shift, like the Great Pyramid of Giza, constructed along powerful geomagnetic nodes by survivors of a previous cataclysm, guided by the guardians of that age. 6 months later, as the survivors began establishing their first outposts on a transformed Earth, Dr. Chen made a discovery that changed everything. While exploring the Guardian's archive of previous civilizations, he found evidence. They had not merely observed the cycles, they had calculated them with perfect precision. You knew exactly when each shift would occur, he confronted Enki. You could have warned us decades ago, given us time to prepare, to save more people. Enki's expression remained impassive. We did warn you. Through your prophets, your scientists, your visionaries. Most were ignored or ridiculed. Jan Thomas was one such messenger. He received the calculations, wrote them down, tried to warn humanity. His work was suppressed, classified, dismissed as fantasy.
Why not make your presence known directly?
Sophia demanded. Because of what always happens when we do. Humans stop solving their own problems. They begin to worship us instead of developing their own potential. The cycle can only be broken when humanity evolves enough to prevent the cataclysm themselves. Years later, after helping establish the foundation of a new civilization, Dr. Shen was granted access to the deepest level of the Guardian's archives, records spanning millions of years of Earth's history. What he discovered left him breathless. The pole shifts weren't natural at all. They were engineered. They were deliberate resets of human civilization initiated whenever humanity reached a specific technological threshold. The final entry in the archive was written by Enki himself. The experiment continues. Each cycle brings them closer to the necessary evolutionary leap, the ability to detect and prevent the resonance cascade that triggers the shift. This cycle's survivors showed more awareness than any before. Perhaps next time they will finally break the cycle and join us among the stars. As Dr. Chen processed this revelation, he noticed something else. A countdown timer showing the precise moment of the next shift, 7,000 years in the future. Beside it lay tools and instructions for creating the same myths, legends, and ancient warnings that had guided his own civilization. He realised the terrible truth. The Guardians weren't preserving humanity. They were farming it, cultivating intelligence through controlled extinction events, guiding human evolution towards some unknown purpose. And now, he was expected to become one of them, to watch over the new cycle of humanity, seeding the necessary clues for the next great test. The question remained, would he perpetuate the cycle, or would he be the one to finally break it? As the new civilization grew around him, Dr. Shen began writing his own book. He titled it The Truth of Eden, and in it he encoded everything he had learned, a message to future generations, and a challenge to the Guardian's grand design. Perhaps this time humanity would finally understand the true nature of its existence before the axis shifted once more.